Recording.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. So yesterday was the holiday of Tu B'Shvat. Happy Tu B'Shvat, a little special sprinkle of some Shabbatness. I saw my sister sent me like her schedule for the month, and like next Shabbat, her talk was titled "Ushering in the New Month of Shabbat." I was like, honey, you missed the boat on that one. That was like 3 weeks ago. She's like, yeah, I guess when I put in that title, like it was then.
So
yeah, it's not the new month of Shvat anymore. We're already up to almost the new month of Adar. So the year is quite the calendar year feels to me like we're in now. It's starting to speed up. And Usher told me this morning, did you know that it is 6 weeks more of the winter and then it will be the spring?
Right.
So he said, I think. I said, well, I'll go with that. I'll take the words of a 6-year-old. You probably got it.
It's the groundhog.
He told me about the groundhog. He was very excited about the groundhog. It did not see its shadow.
Does it ever say it's
Yes.
anything besides?
I feel like it has like
And by the way, if you've never been, it is the coolest thing.
Is it really? Probably
Yeah.
Why is it cool?
Because it's
the way they do it. I
It's-
would totally
you
do.
go at like 4 a.m.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Pennsylvania somewhere?
It's in Poxitawney, Pennsylvania.
Probably put there next year.
The whole town is like
Left on the
made up for. My daughter was a senior last year, and it's like an hour from Pittsburgh, and we happened to be there for a lacrosse tournament.
Oh my god.
And she's like, I think I'm gonna go with my friends on Sunday. And I was like, you should totally do it because it was a Sunday, and like, when else is she gonna have the opportunity? And then I said to my husband, I was like, it's only an hour. We should go. It was so fun. It starts at like 4 a.m. They have bands.
Oh,
You like
okay.
go out into the middle of the
that.
field.
We knew.
They have bands. The governor's there. They have performances. There's fireworks.
That is a
there's
trip.
all this is before sunrise.
This is good though.
It's amazing. It's like,
Oh my gosh. And then what happens? And then what?
and then
The ground.
there's a whole presentation about the groundhog. They do all these readings, all these people. It's not really like the movie,
That is hysterical.
It
It's not like the movie Surprised.
but Groundhog Day, meaning like he
Yeah.
knew everything
Yeah.
that was going to happen repeatedly. And another fun fact: my husband's former roommate is in that movie. But it is just such an interesting thing to be a part of.
That is
It was
so
so amazing.
How does he make his entrance? Is he
So he's in a thing, and they like take him out, and then they
Hi.
they take him out, and then hi everybody.
Today's class is brought to you by Cheryl and Groundhog Day.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
they pull him out, and then they say,
Your kids would love that field trip, Devorah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The 4 a.m. piece, especially. Oh my gosh.
by 8 o'clock in the morning, you're done.
Perfect. Go back to
Yeah. So then you can go eat and drive back.
Wow. That does sound like fun. Shlomo?
Sean?
No. No, but my name is still Shlomo.
It was. I'll show you pictures.
Yeah, he was very into this Groundhog's Day. It's so cute.
Yeah, little kids are.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So we left off last week after we spoke a little bit about Shvat. We were continuing in this gate of pride. And really with the part that we're up to right now, and we spoke a little bit about taking care of our body. We spoke about the fact that we shouldn't have to add on anything. Like, don't add anything. Like, there's enough things, do's and don'ts in the Torah. You shouldn't have to add anything. Now, what the chapter is going to introduce now is really the concept of where the evil inclination comes into all of this. And, you know, we've spent a lot of time in this class discussing the evil inclination and what its role is and how it plays a role. But I want you to hear what it's saying specifically related to the gate of pride with the evil inclination, okay? A man's pride in wisdom and in good deeds takes two forms, one good and the other evil. The evil form is scorning men in heart and word, regarding them as small and inferior, praising and extolling oneself constantly as a paragon of wisdom, and because of this pride, not admitting the truth. In the proud man's eyes, his wisdom, counsel, words, and deeds will always seem superior to those of his friends, and he will always flaunt himself in his wisdom and deeds, desiring praise and honor for his words. About such a person like this, King Shlomo actually says, Yehalel chazar velo picha, which means a stranger should praise you and not your own mouth. Okay, so over here, he's really introducing the concept of evil in general, the evil inclination, understanding kind of where that's coming from, what it's stemming from. When a person feels that it's stemming from a place of there is arrogance, there is a certain misplaced pride, there's a certain place of haughtiness. Oftentimes, it's the evil will kind of weaving itself in. And the first step is being able to identify this is the evil will, right? Once you can call it a spade, you'll be able to know what's going on. A practical application for this, it's interesting, especially when one, like, I think I'm working on a website. When one has to put themselves out there into the world for business reasons, for whatever you have to write your own bio, you have to do your own self-promotion. So King Shlomo actually says, let a stranger praise you and not your own mouth, right? What happens in a world that we have to do our own self-promotion? Where does this fall in with haughtiness? What is this supposed to be? What is the role that Judaism says about this, right? Because we've discussed already that knowing your strengths, like we said last week, being able to be the vessel, be able to know what you're coming from, know the things that you bring to the table is an obligation. So where does that balance fall between knowing that information and vomiting it out there all over the place and praising yourself and standing up for yourself and waiting for the applause? What do you think? What do you think that the Musar sages are going to tell us about this?
I mean, you always have to remember where your gifts come from.
Okay.
But when you're spouting it out to the world, sometimes you can say thank God, but I mean, generally speaking, on your bio, you're not going to write, you don't even have room to write that.
Right. Exactly. It's true. There technically is no room for that, but that's exactly right. In recognizing where this all stems from, we've discussed this over and over and over again, but in recognizing where this stems from and recognizing this might feel like it's my own personal marketing, for myself, but who is really the one, capital O, who has bestowed these gifts upon me, who has made me be capable, who has given me the ability to be standing here today, to be able to read my own bio, to be able to write my own bio. It's almost as if, Gail, like what you're saying, like there should be a little caveat, like this is, like a little asterisk, like this is all
Brought to you by
thanks to God, brought to you by Hashem,
like a little BH somewhere in the corner.
Yeah, a little BH, exactly. So by the way, speaking of,
That's beautiful.
on most of our papers, a lot of our papers, you'll see this little like scribble in the corner. Bays, it doesn't even look like anything, but it's a bays, a samach, or an adalid, okay? That means bisiyata dishmaya, which means with the help of God. Some people, my grandmother used to just write bays -- hey, Baruch Hashem, on all of her papers, on every corner, you could see. Bisiyata dishmaya, meaning when we're ever starting a paper, there is that concept of just with the help of God, and then you get to your work, So when you're writing your own website, when you're writing a bio, you're not exactly putting a little asterisk like this, but in the level of awareness, it is so, so, so important. A man whose deeds are all good and who boasts of them to gain honor is like a fine dish prepared with all manner of seasonings and the best of spices, but which stands by the fire so long that it overcooks and it spoils, becoming inedible because of its bitter burnt taste. Comparison. Similarly, the man who boasts of his deeds befouls his good deeds because of his boasting. And there is no tree worse than or comparable to glorifying oneself for wisdom and good deeds than one does not possess. As our sages have stated, if people honor someone on the assumption that he knows 2 tractates and he knows only one, he must inform them that he only knows one. How much more so he must not lead people into crediting him with greatness that he does not possess. This is especially in the world today, and I'm thinking about this a lot. I'm thinking a lot about AI today. Like in the last, I would say 3 months, I've been focusing so much on if the world is so, bless you, if the world is so full of AI, like, how do we know, like, where's the barometer of like wisdom, truth, creativity? Like, where is it going to be?
Yeah.
Because AI is coming in with all of this stuff. You know, yesterday I was working a little bit on our Purim theme and costumes. You know, our family likes to do a theme and this and that. Anyways, so I started putting different things into AI, and by the time the night was over, my idea started cute. It ended off like next level cute, but it was a lot of AIs. And I showed my husband what I came up with by the end of the night, and I was like, I was so excited. Stay tuned, stay tuned. It's very exciting. But I was so excited about this product, and then I looked at him and I said, "It's so cute, but in a world where this, like AI was able to spit these images out for me." Where is my creativity going to be anymore? Like, who's like, how is this going to be special? And this is not even about this is not even about me. It's just a matter of thinking, like, what's going to be like, wow anymore? You know, on Shabbos, Tammy, we spoke about wow moments, right? What's going to be wow? Right? Godliness obviously is going to be wow, but where do we even draw the line of like, what's a wow? So in thinking about AI and thinking about where people get their wisdom, and over here, it's saying, make sure that you're not putting yourself forth in a way that's giving yourself credit when it's not really yours. You know, it's a very, very important thing just to even pause and think about, you know? Yeah.
I think about awards and like award seasons and whatever. Non-Jewish people
Yeah.
so often give credit to God. A Jewish person to go up and give credit to God, we would think they're very weird.
That's very sad.
It's true. Isn't
That's
it?
very sad.
Yeah, they always vary in a
That's
lot.
very sad.
I mean, it's sports too.
At the Grammys.
Yeah, they all go down to God. I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful when they do that.
I love it.
Yeah, it is a sad thing. It's a sad thing that, you know, that we can't, we're supposed to be an Or Lagayim. You know, we're supposed to be the light. Exactly. Exactly.
Judged that way, almost negatively.
Yeah, we don't need attention.
Yeah. So this is just, it's going into the awareness again of what the awareness behind all of this action and putting it out there and understanding that when something is praised, either by others or even by yourself, where you're giving it credit to. He quotes in here words from the prophet of Yirmiyahu, who says, "One must do all for the sake of the Almighty, who looks into one's heart, as it is written, I am Hashem, who searches the heart and examines the innards." And in Devarim, it says, "The hidden things are known to Hashem, our God. Therefore, let the proud man know that if he does not take care with wisdom and zeal to rescue himself from this pride, then what is his reward waiting for him?" The words here are Gehenna, hell, right? There's a special place in hell for somebody, because only God knows the innards of a person. It's like a very scary thought when you hear it that way, right? But that's what happens, because the evil inclination is lying there. It is so excited to pounce. It's standing there right there. It lies in ambush for this person. And all it's trying to do is just win over this person's mind to say, you're really responsible. It was really you. You really needed it. And a lot of the focus that the Orchos Tzadikim is going to do over here is he's going to say that when you can call a spade, and when you can at least call it out and say, like, hold on, this is false. This is a lie. This is my evil inclination. Then at least the awareness is there. Have you ever had a moment in your life, or in your child's life, it's a little easier to look at, even though I think we also have moments like this in our own lives. But like, once you know that you're talking about a lie and you're like, oh, so like you were lying, right? Once you know you're talking about a lie, the conversation becomes so much easier, because you're not pretending like something happened. Like, it's not like you're not making up a make-believe story. You're like, oh, so this wasn't really true. Like you created this narrative on a premise that maybe wasn't really true. Now that we know that we're talking about something not true, we can move forward in the narrative. Like, we can move forward. So that's a little bit what he's saying over here, is that once you could identify this false voice, which that's exactly what it is. You know, the Torah is very nice by often telling us, they make it seem like the good parts of you, the ones that you really want to listen to, the voice of your neshama, the voice of the Yetzer Tov, we call it, that good inclination, like, those are all like inside of you. The Yetzer Hara, that's like the voice on your shoulder. It's like outside of you, you know? We do. We have this image. Does everyone agree with that? Like we have this image of like, you deep down, you know what's right. You are good. You are your neshama. Connect with that. Anything outside of that is like outside of you, right? It's very helpful to understand it that way. From an IFS place, I'm not exactly sure how they would, like from a therapy place, how they would identify those voices. They would probably also pull them in as a part of you, even the evil. But the first step is being able to identify them. So the Yetzer Hara crouches right there. When it sees you about to be successful, it's right there trying to tell you, this was you, this was your achievements, take credit, take pride, right? Rabbi Noach Weinberg from Aish Torah, whose yahrzeit was this past week, he said, don't take pride, take pleasure. What's the difference between pride, which is the gate of pride that we're in, and pleasure? Why did he say that? What is that teaching us?
Is that like internal and external?
Yeah, that's.
Okay, and there's
Pride's outside, right? And pleasure, do I have it backwards? Pleasure's like, you feel it.
okay. I guess it depends how you're looking at it versus in versus out. But if you think about it, if we're thinking of pride as being a very egocentric thing, so where does pleasure come in, Randy?
I feel like pleasure is you enjoy the experience, and pride would be you're taking credit for the experience.
Right, exactly. So so you could say it as however you look at it. I don't know if there's a right way, but the idea really is when he's saying don't take pride, because pride is coming from a place of all ego, right? If you pull together a beautiful event, or you deliver a beautiful speech, or you present a beautiful home, or you make a beautiful challah, or whatever it is, don't take pride, because pride is like, But if you take pleasure, then you've recognized that Hashem has bestowed you with these gifts. You've acknowledged that as a gift from Hashem, and then you're taking pleasure. Hashem wants you to take pleasure. So I think that very much comes into this whole idea. Don't take pride, take pleasure. The thing yes, go ahead.
I think pride also comes from you worrying about what other people think.
Okay, so I'm so glad you said that, because that is exactly the next piece that he gets into over here. Okay. He talks about the difference between being able to, what it looks like to make other people proud of you and feel happy of you and impress other people, versus God, making God proud of you, making God take pleasure in you, and making God impressed with you. Okay, Pirkei Avot talks about this concept a lot, but we live in a society and in a world, we don't see God. We don't, as much as we, obviously we can all say, but I see God. We can see God in everything. That's the high goal. But when we're going about our daily lives and we're trying to put ourselves out there and impress, are we thinking about, I'm here to impress God, or I'm here to impress the people around me? Now, the two are very much related. And Lynn, I'm so happy that you were thought to bring this up, because this is exactly what he's going to talk about. When a person doesn't care about other people, and they don't care to impress other people, and they can just, smell the way they want, look the way they want, say the way they want, and push other people down in the process. So that also brings God down with them. That's not what God wants. The most beautiful thing to God is something that is pleasant to God and pleasant to people. But over here, with that background, let's think about it for a second. When we go about our average day, I don't even know what my average day looks like anymore. Like, take my last 3 weeks, I have no average day. Forget that line. Take an average day, okay? And we think about, who are we going about to impress? Think about what a day looks like when we're on a mission to impress God. And think about what a day looks like when we're on a mission to impress humanity. It's like a very, very, very powerful thought.
And we see each other different on those days. Like, if you
For sure.
like, we're not looking around here like, oh, what's she wearing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not like, it doesn't really come up in this type of thing, because we're working on being pleasant to God.
Yeah, suddenly you're looking at other people differently also.
Yeah.
But so many times we're on a mission to impress people, because those are the people that we hear their voices and we see their faces and we get their texts, and they're people that we're interacting with. So our mission feels like we just want to impress. And through impressing, we also feel better about ourselves. But I'll call you in 1 second. But when we're talking about Hashem, when we're talking about God watching us and him feeling that we're working towards impressing him, it's living in literally a different level of existence. And that's why, Lynn, what you're saying is so important, because pride, well, who are you looking to impress within this pride? Where is it coming from? Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to say what I was gonna say.
Yeah, go ahead. It's probably good.
No, I was just like thinking relating to planning an event. Like I feel like when I'm planning an event, I'm doing it a lot because I want people to enjoy the experience, not to impress them.
Mhm.
Is there a difference there?
Yes, totally.
Like, is that
You're trying to create.
obviously you want it to look good, but overall for me, I try to focus on like, is it bringing people joy?
Yes. When you are yes, absolutely. When you are in, especially the type of industry that your whole industry relies on, are my clients happy?
Okay.
Did I provide them with something that brought them joy and that brought them love and that brought them life? Absolutely.
But you do also.
But what happens? What happens when the client brings up something to you,
Right.
and you know that this is not aligned with either Jewish values or a mitzvah or something honest or trustworthy, or they're making you say something to the owner of the hotel that you were in that you don't feel like is the right thing.
Right.
And can this happen? Yes. And they're your client.
Right.
So you're on a mission to impress and to please.
Right.
Where does God fall into that picture?
Right.
So it's, yes, of course. I'm not saying our world is not here to not impress other humans, which is why he started off with the whole thing of smell good, dress nicely, eat nicely, be refined, take care of your body, take care of your teeth, like do the things. That's part of godliness, you know? Shlomo said on Shabbos, he said, you know, oftentimes he was so funny. He said, like, I bet you people who stood over here at this pulpit, you know, have told you, including myself, I'm sure you've heard these words from myself. What did he say? You are a soul, you have a body. And he banged on the table and he goes, I'm here to tell you that is not true. But I'll probably tell that to you again. So it's okay. No, what he was trying to say is he was trying to make a point that we oftentimes focus so much on this new way of looking at things that, like, you're a soul, you have a body, you're a soul, you have a body. He said the two are married. They are one. When you're looking at the body and the soul as one, so then you're looking at a whole nother existence. It's not just about, I am a soul. I am a soul. I happen to have a body, but I am a soul. No, like the two are married. We are a body also, but how we're maintaining that body when we're brushing our teeth and we're thinking this is soul work. When you go to the dentist and you tell your dentist, I'm here to take care of my body because it's a mitzvah. Do you know you're doing soul work on my teeth right now? He'll think you're insane, but that's basically the truth, right? That's basically the truth. That's the body and the soul being married. So it goes back to what you're saying, that we're not trying to like be not nice or not, God forbid. The point is not like, don't please the people around
It's
you.
not black and white.
The point is we're always having to think, when we're thinking especially of pride, where does God fall into this picture?
Can I share something?
Yes, please.
Like a vulnerable moment. Rachel's point about, you know, when you come to this class, we're all here learning and more connecting with God. Who are we going about to impress? What's the difference between a day when we want to impress God versus impressing humanity? I feel like that's the crux of my like journey in my 50s. I feel like that is at the crux of like friends that I don't really like vibe with.
Control Alt Delete. Yeah. That's Nancy's. That is totally Nancy. I've quoted on her that at least 50 times. That is Nancy. Control Alt Delete to friends. Yeah.
Crux of like at 54, I'm like, yeah, that friend she's a good friend and she's a good person, but just not vibing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not like, can we talk about something other than how many times do I have to say lush and horror is not my thing? Like, can we stop gossiping? Like, what else is there to talk about? It just is that line of that is the crux of like
your 50s. Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
And part of that is just like, unfortunately, we have to go through life to get to that place.
Yeah.
You know, like if I could have gifted that to you in your 20s, I'm not sure it would have really resonated. You have to go through life.
And what you said was we're living in literally a different level of existence.
Yeah.
And At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't, I don't know if you said that or I wrote that down. but-
Yeah. It is. It's a different level.
I think about my cousin who, he's my age, so many years ago, he was letting his beard and
Yeah.
mustache grow and he was just like very unkempt.
Right.
And I said, like, I love him. But he didn't have a girlfriend. He's like,
Mhm.
I don't know why somebody doesn't just like me for who I am inside. He's a great person inside. And I finally said, Lauren, you're a great person inside, but they have to like be attracted to the outside before they can get to know the inside.
That's well said.
And he now looks really good.
Oh, that's
And he's
well
got
said.
happily married and all that.
Wow.
That's well said. That's well said. You know, it's interesting. Last week on the Zoom call, we were talking about this concept of the Nazir, the Nazarite. Do you remember we spoke about somebody who becomes so holy that he wants to separate himself completely from all of physicality. So he removes himself from wine and from grapes, and he doesn't shave and he doesn't cut it, everything. So it's interesting along those lines, you know, if you look like, so nobody asked this question, like, why would somebody want to be a Nazir? Did anyone think about that when I taught you that concept of the Nazir? Like, why would someone want to do this?
Maybe that's what they thought is
The most
Like
pure,
cleansing, like
yeah, most
cleansing.
godly.
But then you learn this, and you see that there were so few. And then remember, we said that you have to bring a sacrifice because you did something wrong. So like, it's weird. Like I mean, God forbid, it's not weird. Like they were doing exactly what you're saying is right. But what I want to tell you is that it says in the Parsha, it teaches us always that anytime one verse or one Torah portion, they're always connected for a reason. And it's called Smichut HaParshiot, which means like the connection of the Parshiot. So you look at what happens right before the Nazarite. What's the story that's going on right before? And if you look in the Torah, it shows us the story of the Isha Sota. I wish I knew the English translation for Sota. I don't. But what it is a woman who is challenged for cheating on her husband, the woman, okay? What she has to do is, it has happened, I don't even know if there's actually an actual time that this has actually happened, but she goes through an extremely humiliating process where she has to uncover her hair and she has to drink a certain drink and she has to dress a certain way. And if she's guilty, the Torah tells us that like something's going to happen to her body and it's going to be very gruesome and very yucky. And again, I don't know. There's no written understanding of whether or not one of these episodes ever happened. But the point is like, it's very humiliating for this woman. And so I believe that it's Rashi who speaks about when the Nazir, the reason that it's connected to the Sota is because perhaps somebody who sees what might happen when a woman, because one of the reasons she could be suspected is for being drunk, like that she was cheating because she was drunk. A Nazir might look and say, like, if that's what happens, like maybe I should just pull myself back altogether. Meaning the Nazir's motivation, exactly, it's very extreme, but his motivation was to be, I don't want to enter into a situation that's going to put me into a vulnerable, negative spiral downward. I want to be coming from a place where I can be holy. And again, he had to bring a sacrifice for doing such a thing. But that is also interesting when you think about like what's pleasant to the other person. What's pleasant? What was, so he's separating from this wine and all this so that he doesn't sin. And look also how he looks, look how he acts, look how he behaves.
But isn't life about not like obviously not being at those extremes, but
yeah,
having those things and
yes,
knowing when to stop.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like that middle.
To give correct. Shviel HaZahav, it's called Shviel HaZahav, the golden path. It's a golden path. It's somewhere in the middle. That's exactly right. But I just wanted to point that out because I think that had to do with Gail's comment. Yeah.
There's a book by the title Sota by Naomi Reagan. I'll have to read.
Interesting.
Book.
I don't know if I want to read that book.
Well, and I have to reread because I can't. I feel like there's something relative to the name, the title.
I'm sure it probably is
Yeah,
about, I
yeah.
would imagine it would be something along those lines. Yeah, interesting. Ooh, interesting. The other point that he makes over here is that when a person, we said that the goal is to be able to identify this voice. Once the person identifies the voice, it's almost like you caught the fish in the net. The the Mishnah tells us that when it hits a low, it continues to go low. Once you can go higher, you can continue to go higher. Meaning, it's the same way with life, right? Have you ever noticed? Let's just say with a diet, when you have one chocolate chip cookie.
Oh yeah.
So it's not always one chocolate chip cookie. It's like it follows into a pattern, which like 3 days later, you're in a new pattern of eating because you ate one lousy chocolate chip cookie, right? Whereas like if you're on a really good streak, then it tends to be that you're able to carry that good streak all the way. So what he's saying is that when a person can identify the Yetzer Hara, kind of catch it and recognize like, this is my low, this is where we're at. He's kind of like taking away that chocolate chip cookie and starting again up. And an example that you see about this is actually, which we're going to be starting to learn about very soon because Purim is right around the corner, but we see this in a little episode that happens between a conversation with Zeresh, who's actually Haman's wife. Because when he starts to see, when the plot twist starts to happen in the Purim story, the Jews are they're in that low. They're in that chocolate chip cookie. It's just falling down and down and down and down. But then something happens in the story where it starts to pivot. And it starts to lift up and like event by event by event, you see like it literally is the pendulum swing from one low and then it goes to the other side. And Haman's wife, who by the way, you know, we always talk about how the wives are the ones who always like throw in this little insight. So she was known to be a terrible instigator of all the evil. She was terrible. And she is perhaps even more guilty at being part of the plot of killing out all the Jewish people than Haman himself. Because she was she like added so much fuel to the fire, Zeresh. But what she did tell Haman is she said, you watch out with those Jewish people because if they're low, they'll continue to go low. But once they go high, the higher they're going to go. And she noticed that. And she warned Haman with that as soon as she saw the plot starting to twist. Yeah, what?
You said that I can't stop laughing. Exactly, Mom Done.
Oh my gosh.
Worse than ever.
Oh, that's
oh my God. I can't believe you're saying that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Wow. His words.
So we say, Chachmas nashim bansa besa, the wisdom of a woman can build a home, but the ivelas biadaha teharsana, but also with her evilness, she can destroy it. Wow. Meaning it's a lot of it is in the a lot of it is in the hands of the woman. That's a very fascinating example.
Happy wife, happy life.
I guess. I guess so.
Devorah,
yes.
At the beginning of class, you said we've talked a lot about the evil inclination. I'm very familiar.
Yes.
Can you just sort of summarize or how would you define it? Because now we're using it a lot.
Yeah, it's going to come up a lot in the work of Musar. So the evil inclination, like I said, I like to define it as a voice that is inside of us, but that we don't identify ourselves with. Okay? So like the way that our brains work is that we're going to always, everything that we have always is going to be balanced out. There always is going to be a balance. And there's going to be multiple voices that we hear. You know exactly what those voices are. They're all a part of who you are, right? When you hear a voice that tells you, you should really get up and go exercise. You should really get up and go pray. You should really get up and do whatever. And at the exact same time, you're also hearing a voice that says, you really need the extra 5 minutes of sleep. You're going to be a much better mother and a much better wife today if you just hit the snooze button. And you're probably going to feel better, which is going to make you much more sharp. Which one am I listening to? You know what I'm saying? Like they're both going on in my head. And oftentimes the evil voice is the one that's going to try to manipulate the situation.
Which was evil? They both sounded good.
Exactly my point. That's exactly my point, is that it's sometimes very, very hard to identify the evil voice. So Jamie, that's exactly the point, is that you have multiple voices. And I could tell you right now, like, I could say to myself, oh, those are both my Yetzer Hara. Those are both my Yetzer Tov, which is the good inclination. Except that I have to choose one voice. They're two opposing voices.
But can't they both be good?
Yes, but one of them is
less good.
One of them is more the voice of the body, and one of them is more the voice of the soul.
Truth. Like
That makes sense.
The same message is like if you're feeling well and good, then That's
should
your
get up.
probably saying get up and pray and exercise. Let's say you're not feeling well, you have a cold, you have whatever, it could be.
A delete.
Yeah, well, the Yitzhar Hara, first of all, the Yitzhar Hara,
clever.
it's very clever, but it also matters minute to minute. There's never going to be one
Yeah,
circumstance that is always going to be the same
Got it.
answer. We
Yeah.
morph. I'm not the same person that I was yesterday that I am today.
Right.
And our circumstances are also
Right.
going to change. So to Beth's question of like, what is this evil inclination? So the best way of understanding it, I think, and there's a lot to be said about this, but the evil inclination is going to be very sly. It's going to try its very best to present itself as something good, but it's going to oftentimes be in this shellac. It's like a very beautiful coating that's going to make it look like it's presenting you as something very good. And it's a voice inside of you. But what's its point? Its point is to pull you down. Its ultimate goal is to pull you away from the source, the ultimate source of God and godliness, and from your best self. So when we talk about the fact that you have to be able to identify, and by the way, it says B'Pesach Chatas Rovetz, that little evil sinning voice is sitting there at the door of your heart, ready to pounce. It knows you so well, and it knows exactly where it can get in. It knows your weaknesses and it knows your strengths. And by the way, when it's in high gear and it's working well, it's going to try to help you exactly like you said. Wait a second, both of those voices are good, and it could sound that way, but really, I know which voice I'm
I was
supposed
going to
be
say,
listening to.
usually, if you pause and take a moment in your gut, really.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Well, you can't always do that.
Rachel's point though, like if you're not feeling well, then you should sleep.
Exactly. And that might be the Yetzer Tov, right? When you have to hit that.
Right.
But if
in that,
every
in
day,
that circumstance.
in that circumstance. So, and my evil inclination and your evil inclination are
Right.
not going to be the same.
Right.
So it's so tricky. Like when I say it like in one line, like the goal in life, like once you could identify the evil inclination, already half the problem is gone. And you like write it down and you like move on with life. Like ladies, that is a life's work of effort. Like just to be able to identify, right? Like this morning I was on the phone with one of my chavrusas. I was learning with her and she's like, oh, Deborah, is there any way you could come with us on this trip? It's going to be so spiritual and we're going to different parts of Europe and we're going to be going to all these different rabbis' graves and it's going to be so amazing. And I'm like, honey, I'm there, I'm there, sign me up. And then I'm like, and all the voices, which each voice can go into every single category. And each voice is going to try to tell me something different. So the first goal is to be able to identify, oh, I hear voices. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a step to even know, like I hear voices. I hear voices, check you in. Exactly. Like I know what is talking to me. I know what it's trying to tell me. If we can't even know that our voices are identified voices, so then we're just living with robots, And I go back to the AI topic, which is like in a world that's going to be so easy to whip out all the information, the arrows, you're going to just hear me talking about this on repeat now, but like the arrows are just pointing to one direction. And that is consciousness,
right?
Spiritual consciousness, self-consciousness, alignment, tuning in, being present, living a real alive life, because otherwise we're literally just a bunch of walking robots.
Should be anyway.
Yes, that's what we should be. Exactly.
It's like we're being forced to go on that.
But AI is a little bit forcing us in that direction because everything is going to just be
It's
about
freeing up our time.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way.
It's freeing up our
sort of
time.
freeing up a little
There's
bit of
no
our
more
time to-
brain. It's not
like-
focusing on the brain as much. Like it's
Enough
not,
of-
there's so much wisdom that's out there. By the way, it says in the Messianic times, the amount of wisdom that is going to cover the earth is going to be tremendous. But the goal is not to accumulate wisdom in Messianic times. The goal is to accumulate wisdom, mala aretz dea es Hashem, which means the wisdom of awareness of God. That's the goal of the Messianic times. So wisdom, exactly. So changing the wave of consciousness.
And it will
I
allow
feel like we're
to
totally.
shift
We're
different.
there.
Shifting.
We're totally,
Yeah.
the world is totally shifting. We're in it. We're in it. Like 3 years ago, I couldn't have even said this.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I wouldn't have said this. It's
Right.
it's scary. It's scary.
Doomsday clock thing,
Hold
how
on.
close we are to it. So my son said that we moved up closer to doomsday. Like, I don't know, it was like 85 seconds now. It was 87 seconds now. We're 85 seconds closer because of all of the.
Oh my gosh. I don't know anything about doomsday. That
Yeah.
sounds so scary.
No, but it's like
But it's been around for a while.
Oh, it has, but it's like, listen, we were kids, it was probably like we were, I don't know, maybe, half an hour. I don't know, the time keeps getting, we get keep.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
Hold on. I feel like, was there somebody on Zoom? Yes, Lynn. Hold on. There's a Zoom comment. Yes.
So the thing about AI is you have to realize that it's taking in everything. It's taking in evil. It's taking in all the thoughts that are out there. So it's not perfect. And in fact, I'll give you an example.
Perfect. That's for sure. Yeah.
Last week, and we were in Death Valley National Park, hiking and everything. And my husband put into AI what would be the perfect, if you have 2 days there, what would be the perfect day. So it went from morning till night, and it had us hiking at 9 o'clock at night. We're going places. So it's not perfect.
No, Lynn, you just didn't specify. You have to say from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I have this many days, how many
Or I
hours?
want it to be.
No, that's actually I push back. That's not a good example. I put in Torah questions into there that have actually given me false information. Like I've looked up sources and it's not true.
Because
That
Sources are rough.
pulling in from evil, it's pulling in from everything. So
Yeah.
it does.
Right.
Yeah, but it still doesn't take away from my point in saying that our time and creativity and a lot of these things that we have to spend, what I would have paid a graphic designer for many, many hours to do, it whipped it out in less than 4 minutes for me.
Right.
So that's like pretty telling, Okay.
Right.
There was another, Nancy, you had something to say?
The only thing I was going to say was sometimes chocolate chip cookies are made with almond flour.
Hold on, what you're trying to say. You're saying
better for you?
Yeah.
So they're
But they also have sugar.
I stopped being like 10.
Sometimes chocolate's good for you, right? Yeah.
No, but yeah, that's that example of like the chocolate is what's his name? Who does that whole?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the identifying.
The other thing is you're not supposed to not have any pleasure.
Correct,
in
as we
your
said,
life.
that's exactly
You
right.
have to have it, but everything in moderation.
Yeah.
And being aware
Correct.
of what is going on.
Correct. Okay. So let me just read a few more paragraphs over here. Maybe we'll get through. Hold on one second. Okay. I'm going to skip to here. All that we have said on the subject of the evil inclination is but a drop in the ocean in comparison to the care that one must exercise in dealing with it. To Beth's point, can you just summarize the evil inclination? So we can summarize it, but in terms of dealing with it, we're talking about oceans worth of work, right? Every act, every trait, the evil inclinations comes to destroy and to ruin. We have merely opened the door to reveal the activities of the evil inclination for the benefit of he who is unacquainted with the beginning of its ways. And in Eov it tells us, and the wise man will understand and hasten to root it out of himself, and the clean-handed man will multiply strength. Well, we're going to get to Pesach soon, by the way. The whole root, it's around the corner. The whole root of Pesach, it's very nice that we get rid of leaven and we get rid of the bread and we get rid of the crumbs. But a lot of that has to do with the ego itself, with the pride that we live our lives with. In a story in history where we see that it went from like the ultimate revelation of God and being able to take us out from the most narrow and constricted places, it's that shift in ourselves. So Pesach, even though, we're celebrating, the exodus of Egypt and all, but we're really celebrating our own microcosm of it, like our own worlds, and like how we're bringing God into our own splitting of the seas, and how we're seeing the ego inside of us and how it needs to be shifted down and how we're making our way through. So it's just very, very important to recognize pride is the quality of one's wisdom. Pride in the quality of one's wisdom is praiseworthy, as it is written, but let him who praises himself praise himself for this, being wise and knowing me, and let him multiply praise to the Creator for having granted him knowledge and wisdom and goodly traits through the prayer for wisdom. Who's the ultimate example in the Torah that we see this from? Does anyone come to mind when we see somebody who had insight from God and was able to verbalize that, to able to say it? Yes, excellent. Where do you see that, Jamie?
I mean, I just like in all the stories that I've heard about him, and like
His
Is it prophecy?
That's exactly, it starts with his dreams, his
Yeah.
prophecy. And
Who is he?
Yosef Hatzadik. When Yosef is given, when he's given credit, right? When he's given credit for being this, this saint who's able to like just be able to identify these dreams and translate them and give him over such beautiful explanations, which ended up coming true. He says, you should know this is not my power.
Right.
This was the power that came from them. So Abraham was also a little bit like that, but Yosef is the ultimate example. Abraham used to, explain to people when they would talk about idolatry, which was the way that they all worshipped. He would say, this doesn't make sense. This is from Hashem. But specifically in terms of his own traits, he was the ultimate example of that. Okay. So here's another quote. It says, and his heart was uplifted in the ways of Hashem, for a man should be lofty spirited and high-hearted in matters of the world to come. He should not be content with what comes his way and not say enough in respect to what he acquires of all of them. Over here, he's making the point with pride, with gaiva, that when a person is on a certain trajectory to gain more spirituality, to gain a greater seat in the world to come, to become a greater scholar. So pride plays a little bit of a different role. Why? Because it's in the ultimate connection between man and God, which is the whole goal of this world, is the spiritual pursuit. So at the same time, he's not taking credit, but it doesn't have the same seat at the table as a person who becomes very wealthy or very successful in a certain company. It's not the same thing as a person who's on a certain spiritual trajectory.
But isn't that the higher level?
It is the higher level. It is, yes. And of course, he's probably, if he's doing it in the right way, because by the way, there are also people who the Yetzer Hara kicks in and they think they're on a spiritual trajectory, and really, they're misusing it. They're doing it for their own, kavod, their own honor. But if he's doing it in the right way, then he's obviously acknowledging that it's all from God, right? The real Torah scholars, the real people who were on those trajectories, when I think of their images, what they physically look like in the last, let's say, 150 years, we have some images of them. Such humble people. You could see the humility in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? You could look at them and know that this is not coming from a place of pride. Okay, we're going to skip a little bit over here because I really want to get through this. Yes, let's get to over here. Okay, make a fence. This is a very important line. You're going to see it come up again in the study of Musar. But it tells us over here, we're going to read this last paragraph and we're going to finish up. Make a fence to keep far from pride and other evil traits. He who wishes to completely root pride out of his heart cannot do this by thought alone, but in the beginning he must remove himself from haughtiness to the outermost limit. How? If a man was accustomed to wearing ostentatious, styled garments, like those who are haughty of spirit, and he wishes to depart from this, if he simply starts wearing good clothing and styles it moderately, he will not thereby root out haughtiness from his heart. Or if he didn't want to seek honor and to lord it over others in word or deed, there is no correction for him until he humbles himself, sitting lower than all others, putting on worn-out garments that shame those who wear them and the like, until he roots out his haughtiness from the heart. Hang on. Similarly, if one is hot-tempered and often vents his anger, he must first come to react with complete passivity to being hit or cursed, and he must persist this in a long time until the root of wrath has been torn out of his heart. Essentially, and this is going to be a theme that we're going to see come up again and again in these ideas. Essentially, what he's saying over here, first of all, that word fence is an extremely important word, okay? Because again, it starts with awareness and then it starts with boundaries that we have to put up for ourselves. What he's suggesting over here is that sometimes one who struggles with a certain character trait sometimes has to go to the opposite extreme so that they can come out somehow balanced, right? You can see this not even, I'm just thinking of specific examples. Let's say eating is one that, we're in the month of Shvat, so a lot of thought around the power of eating, but like eating is one that comes to mind. Oftentimes when somebody is going from one extreme to the other, even if they don't necessarily recognize that that's the point, they swing to the other extreme and they're in hope somewhere in between, they're going to fall out okay. And this is what he's suggesting, that part of the work of separating ourselves from a midah, from a character trait that we're struggling with, sometimes might feel like it's going to an extreme. And it's not to be remaining at that extreme. It's so that we feel we live in that place, we understand that place, and we in hope that we can kind of get back over here. Yeah, get back over here. What does that mean on a practical level?
What's an example of not with eating?
Yeah.
No, so like you cut out,
Well,
you don't want to eat sugar anymore. So,
No,
or,
no, no, I
He's
wouldn't
saying not
say
with
not
eating.
with
Well, the examples, yes,
very.
he gives a few examples, but yeah, go ahead. We have 2 examples.
Okay, so I took on a role
Oh,
as president
Yes.
of the Parent Association. That is way outside my box, right? And I'm not enjoying it. I had to experience and to know what a leader is like, right?
Mhm.
People complaining, all the fun stuff. But I know now I'm swinging, I know what
Got it,
I'm capable of, right? Like I did this leadership thing.
got it.
I can be a leader in a smaller place. I don't need to be.
It's a great example.
It's a great example.
That's a beautiful example. The example that he gives over here, though, is even with if somebody feels like they're being haughty with the way that they're dressing. So he says to dress
Okay.
very conservatively for a certain, like for a certain part of time, like to go from one extreme to the other. That alone is so much work, especially when you're thinking about we live as people who care about what other people think. So suddenly you go from that extreme, you go to that extreme, someone's watching like, what is going on over here? If a person is very talks a lot about their accomplishments and their greatness, and suddenly they realize like, you know what, I'm going to pay attention to this. Then they stop talking about themselves completely for a little bit of time. It doesn't mean you can't talk about yourself. It just means that's very extreme. Come somewhere in the middle. What was your example?
Oh, it was actually from my young adulthood. I was, a middle kid, so I was very flexible and kind of, I didn't never really like said my opinion. I just kind of did whatever my parents said. And so when I was actually in my young 30s, I remember my sister Heather like teasing me because I became like much more outspoken, sometimes even when it wasn't necessary. And now I think I've swung back.
There you go.
Like,
That's a
you
great
still got a lot
example.
to say, or you're making a point of something that doesn't even need to be made a point of. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Made me laugh at myself, but now I think I'm in the middle. I don't know.
I wonder why you have to go to the extreme versus just dialing it down a little bit.
So because you can try it and see what happens, but what he's saying is that it's very, very hard. It's hard to go down just one notch. It's easier to go down, and imagine that you're going to fall somewhere. What's going to end up happening going down one notch is that it slowly climbs back up.
Okay.
And then you're back at that starting ground. So this is a very high level, to be able to say, I'm going to go to a certain extreme. By the way, this is where the example, people who are very careful with their words, and they have, I've only met a couple of people like this in my life, but they have something called Mahsom Lafi, which means like their alarm will go out on their phone. This I met a lot of people, like I myself have done this, where their alarm goes on your phone and you say, from this hour, I'm going to be very, very careful with these words. The extreme of that would be, for this hour, I'm not going to talk.
Got it.
Okay. Somebody who's struggling with that is going to say, for this hour, nothing can come out of my mouth. I'm just going to be in silence, in hope that when I come back to that hour in a few weeks from now, I'll be much more on the middle ground. Meaning sometimes we have to go to the opposite extreme in hope. The Torah never, ever, ever will stay stuck at an extreme. Torah does not like extremes. But for Musar work, oftentimes he's suggesting that we have to do that little bit of the extreme taste, maybe just for a day or 2 or 3. Like he's not saying any specific.
I guess because it really does give you a different perspective.
Completely.
I don't have that app on my phone or in my life.
Oh, no.
Nor do you need it.
What?
I said, nor do you-
It's okay. It's not your avoda. What?
Going back to food, would it be like that they use the fact that you do like a 5-day detox?
Yes, that's exactly right. There are so many. I find so many food examples.
Yeah.
Like food examples are very, very good. Yes, that's exactly right. Like you don't just say like, I'm going to start this healthier. It's a literal detox with like 5 and 10 stays,
So he was actually recommending, I missed that part. He was actually recommending that you go to an extreme in order to level out in the middle.
To balance.
Sometimes
Mhm.
Come
you get a
back.
different.
Yeah.
You get such a different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's not saying like go from like dressing in riches to dressing in rags,
Yeah,
you know?
but saying the extreme will help you get to.
But that's his point. Exactly. Exactly. And also you should just remember that like, I just want to, I'm going to call you in 1 second, but I just want to like really have that line go in that I quoted from Pirkei Avot, which is like anything, I didn't actually quote it. Anything that is pleasing to other people is also pleasing to God. Meaning like God doesn't want you to be not pleasant to other people. He wants you to be pleasing to other people. But you have to be thinking of God in the framework of that. If God is in the picture over there, so then it's fine. If you're only thinking about people, so in the process of that, let's say somebody would be very, very, very put off by your extreme behavior, you have to take that into accountability. You can't be like, sorry, I'm on my God journey right now. Like I'm going to this extreme. If there are people around you who are going to be put off, you have to take that into account. So yeah, I'm going to stop the recording here. Any comments on Zoom?
I had a comment. I was
Yes.
just thinking